Hi everyone, today I'm going to be making a video discussing Modern Tournament in Flicker Tron now that it has recently been unbanned. This video is going to have two different parts. The first is me sort of discussing Flicker Tron and how I see it in the current format, and the second part of this video will be a 5-0 lead that I have done recently with this exact list. So without further ado, let's dive into it. For those who are not aware, Tron refers to Urza's Mine, Urza's Power Plant, and Urza's Tower, with the idea being that when you have all three in play, you have Assembled Tron. And this is because individually they all tap for one colorless mana, but if you have all three in play, they tap for a combined total of 7 mana, with 3 from Urza's Tower, 2 from Urza's Power Plant, and 2 from Urza's Mine. In other formats, you typically use that to cast very powerful colorless spells, but in Pauper, at least at the time of this recording, we don't really have anything that is on par with that. So instead what we do is we play artifacts like Prophetic Prism, Energy Refractor, and Modern Ornament, and this is very important because we need to have artifacts that provide us colors to cast our spells, but at the same time, if the artifacts themselves do not hand-trip, we have the issue of flooding out, where we can not only draw too many lands, but we can also now draw too many artifacts. So with that in mind, what does Flicker Tron do? The general idea is you try to spend the early turns assembling Tron, drawing some cards, and trying to stay alive with things like Moment's Peace, Weather the Storm, cards like Breath Weapon, Risk Circle, or even Stonehorn Dignitary, which I am not playing, but it sort of fits the default package. Eventually, you will have Ardent Elementalist or Mnemonic Wall. We'll talk about that card in a little bit, where when they come into play, they can return an instant or a sorcery card from your graveyard to your hand, and the idea is that you combine this card with things like Ephemerate and Moment's Peace, you now have infinite thoughts. Additionally, you can if you have 2 of these in play, you can flicker it multiple copies, and then you can just start getting back all the instants and sorceries from your graveyard. So, you have a Simultron, you've sort of spent your early turns fighting, trying to stay alive, not losing. Eventually you have this lock where you can't take combat damage, you have all the counter spells in the world. How do you win? Well, there's a couple different ways, but I decided to play Fireball. So basically, you have all this mana from your Tron lands, you can just put it into a Fireball, point it at your opponent, and then they die. In a nutshell, that's what Flicker Tron is. That's how it's operated historically, and that's how my list operates today. Over the years, there have been several cards banned out of this archetype. First banning was Expedition Map. The second one was Prophetic Prism and Modern Ornament. So there was a time where all three of these cards were banned, but a lot has happened since bannings occurred. I would make the assessment that Flicker Tron was very good throughout 2020 and into 2021, and then once we had Modern Horizons 2, that set is sort of, I would argue, a fundamental shift in Pauper. Pauper before and after that set were never the same. Specifically, present day Pauper is very, very fast. That is part of the reason why I think that they're able to make all of these cards unbanned, is because Pauper is so fast and efficient. Whereas historically, Pauper was a much slower format. But with that said, how do we build Tron to be able to compete in the more powerful and faster format that we have today? Well, historically, Tron has been built tons of different ways, and I think to me that should serve as an indication that Tron doesn't have one right form. It is a control prison deck, meaning that you have to build it to the metagame. And so I say this because I don't see the value in arguing over if a card is good or bad without the context of why it is good or bad in a specific metagame. First things first, we're going to talk about the mana rocks, right? I think that's a good place to start when talking about how to build Tron. Right now, we have access to Prism, Refractor, and Bonders. This is a big deal. Historically, Tron has only ever had access to 8 mana rocks at any given time. The first was with Ardent Astrolabe and Prism, now Astrolabe is banned. The second was with Prism and Bonders Ornament, and then both of them got banned. And then last year, Prism got unbanned, so there was a time where you could play 4 Refractor, 4 Prism. Whenever we've had access to 8 artifacts, typically it has been correct to play all 8, just because you really do want a critical density of these types of artifacts. If you don't have a critical density of these artifacts, sometimes you'll have turn 3 Tron, but you won't have any colored mana sources, so you can't do anything. And that's really problematic if you just play a third land and do absolutely nothing. You're too slow, you're going to lose. Right now, however, this is the first time where we can play up to 12 if we want to. That being said, the real question is, which ones do you play? Specifically, what numbers of each? So first up, when it comes to Prism, in my opinion, it makes no sense to play anything other than 4. This is a card that is very good. It's the most efficient mana rot that we have. What I mean by that is it's the cheapest one, so it's 2 mana, and you pay 1 mana to get 1 mana of any color. Given how fast the format is, I think it makes a lot of sense right now to just play 4 of this. The next card that I'm playing is Energy Refractor. There were times where I only played 2, and then I played 3 Bonders Ornament. However, the format is really fast, and 2 mana versus 3 mana is a lot. Because if you can play this on turn 2, you got your artifact down, you already drawn a card, and you're going to go. Where Bonders Ornament, however, this has the problem where it comes into play 1 whole turn later, so on turn 3, and it doesn't draw a card right away. You have to put 4 mana into it and tap it to draw a card. Whereas in the faster matchups, these cards are more appealing because they're not only 1 mana cheaper, but they give you the card right away, no questions asked. The trade-off, of course, is that this is a one-time use. So Modern Tournament, the strengths of it are that it's good in the slower matchups, but it's weaker in the faster matchups. Now, there's one other cycle of cards that I think are worth talking about, and this is the Lord of the Rings cycling cards. These were introduced in the Lord of the Rings set, and they have been a very big deal, I think, for Flicker Tron, even though Flicker Tron, as an archetype, for quite a while has not been very playable. But these are a huge addition for a couple different reasons. Number one, they are color fixing. If you look at this card, and this card, and this card, they all give us mana of any color. What's nice about this is that not only can it give us mana of any color, now that we actually have dual lands in Pauper, you can just hard cast it, and it does something. So, historically, I have played cards like Lorien Revealed. Nowadays, I'm playing Generous End. So, why am I not playing Lorien Revealed? Well, there's a couple different reasons why I am not playing Lorien, but I am playing Generous End. And for a long time, I was on 4 copies of Lorien. So, the main reason is this. While I do love Lorien Revealed as a card, the fact that it draws 3 is really relevant. The game for using a turn 2 Refractor into turn 3 Tron and then hard cast Lorien were wonderful. However, there are some issues with this card. Number one, it is double blue, which is kind of difficult. Number two, it is sorcery speed, meaning that if your opponent has a counterspell or a red blast, typically you are tapped very low or tapped out, and then they have free range to do whatever they want. That can be kind of a temporal loss. So, why do I prefer Generous End? The main reason is this. Right now, the format is very fast, and Generous End helps us against the faster decks. Number one, there's a card called Sneaky Snatter that is currently lethal, and this card is everywhere. So, one of the problems that Current Pauper has that makes Tron, I think, a lot weaker is that a lot of decks have the ability to get really easy chip shots in. And the problem is that it's so easy to do it nowadays that they can kind of get you to a spot where you don't really have any room to breathe, right? You're always kind of on a razor's edge trying to balance it out and stay alive. And part of that is because how easy it is to get hit shots in and do little points of damage here and there. And Sneaky Snapper is a great example of this, where this is a card that just keeps coming back every turn. Even if you kill it, it's going to come back the next turn, and it just keeps returning. So many decks are drawing cards, and this card keeps coming back. And so, Generous End kind of helps alleviate that, because when it's in play, it can block a Snapper, and because it has 7 toughness, it's really hard to kill. And so it kind of helps stem the bleeding, and it can buy us time. On top of that, it creates a food, which can gain us 3 life, which is very relevant, especially against the faster burn matchups that are in the format now. The other thing that I really like about Generous End is that it dumps up the board. There are certain matchups where you can get this in play. Your opponent can no longer attack you anymore. And with that, right, it can buy you a lot of time. There's also a card now in the format called Refurbished Familiar. And this is a card that, again, is really good at sort of dealing us hit damage, right? So Refurbished Familiar, this is a card that that affinity decks can play on turn 2 to make us discard a card, and then, you know, on turn 3 they might have a second one, so now we're down 2 cards, and now they have a flyer that they can just use to start chipping in damage and lowering our life total. What's really nice about Generous End is that you can put a stop to that. You also have 7 toughness, right? You can block it, and they can't even use like a Gap Blast to get rid of your Generous End, because the Outblast only deals 4, and Vermishing only deals 2. That's 6 damage, it's not 7, so your 100% will stay alive. And it can also be a win condition, and I think that that's also really important. I say this because there's been a lot of matchups where if you get fast Tron and land a couple Genercents, they don't know what to do, because they're sort of expecting a game that's going to be slower and grindier, and if you go turn 3 end, turn 4 end, and I'm just going to start bashing you, you gotta put them in a spot where like, oh, I don't know what I'm supposed to do now. That being said, as always, we have options. In the past, I played Lorien and I really enjoyed it, but nowadays I'm playing Genercent and I think it is better. But the reality is that we have a full cycle of these types of effects, and we can always have the option to swap to another one. Again, it's important to look at the metagame and figure out which one is the best in the particular metagame. In terms of the mana base, because we're playing Genercent, this Ardent Red Force, I'm playing 2 of the blue-green dual land because if you want to get multiple blue sources, you can. I have 1 forest because if you ever need an untapped land, it's really important that you have that option. And then I have a single green-red dual because this can help us cast our Elementalists, Fireballs, Pyroblast, Breath Weapon, Ancient Run, etc. The next thing I'm going to talk about is how do we find our Tron lands. So there are 2 different tools that you can play in Pauper. So Expedition Map is a 1-mana artifact that lets you pay 2 mana and sacrifice it to search your library for a land card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. So the idea is that this can find your last Tron land, and then you can put it into play as you land up return, and now you have Tron. Okay, pretty simple. What does Crop Rotation do? This is 1 green, 1 instant, that requires you to sacrifice a land as part of paying the cost. So if it gets countered, you are also down a land. But if it resolves, you can search your library for a land card and then put it directly onto the battlefield. The main difference between these two is that Expedition Map puts it into your hand, and then you have to play it as you land up for the turn. Crop Rotation puts it directly into play. My opinion right now is that Crop Rotation is better. And here's my reasoning why. It doesn't require a land drop. Let's say, for example, I have an island plus an Urza's Mine plus a Prism in play. And for my turn, I draw a power plant. If I have a map in my hand, map can give me Tron the following turn. Crop Rotation gives me Tron right now. That to me is one of the biggest kind of trade-offs between the two, is that when you have 2 Tron lands early on, map is great, right? And you have turn 1 mine in the map, turn 2 power plant, turn up tower, you're done, right? Simple as that. However, that's not going to happen every game, and so map can sometimes be awkward where you only have 1 Tron land, you're not really sure what to do. You prep the map and then hope to, draw the 3rd one naturally, or like what do you do, right? It can be kind of tricky. The other issue is that sometimes you kind of force into that line because, once again, it does require a land drop, meaning that, let's say I draw the tower. I can play the tower, but now this one has to tutor up the power plant the following turn. So there's always going to be a little bit of delay with Expedition Map. Whereas for Crop Rotation, there's never a delay. The moment you have 2 in play, if you have Crop Rotation, you can get the 3rd right away, and you're in to go. Now, there are other trade-offs between these two, notably this. Expedition Map is a land drop. Crop Rotation is not. Crop Rotation sets a land to put a land into play. Expedition Map tutors up a land, and you can play it as you land up in the turn. Historically speaking, crop rotation was not necessarily viable, and the main reason was that we did not have a critical density of color-producing artifacts. Right? When we only had Fort Prism, for example, it was really hard to justify crop rotation, because let's say, for example, I have Urza's Mine, Power Plant, and Forest, right? If I set the Forest for Tower, that's great, but because I only have Fort Prism, it's kind of likely I don't have it in my hand, right? You only have 4, you're not as likely to draw it. So now I'm assembled Tron, but now I have no colored mana, so it doesn't really matter if I have Tron. So that was the downside of crop rotation. But now that we have a critical density of these artifacts, that downside is mitigated because you're so likely to have one compared to previously. The other thing that I like about crop rotation is that it is instant speed graveyard hate. And right now, the format is very graveyard-centric. We have Sneaky Snapper, we have Tolarian Terror, we have Cycle Storm, we have Dread Return, we have Malice Rain Spy. Nearly every deck has a graveyard that it interacts with to some degree. Even Affinity uses Blood Fountain. And so every deck, to some degree, cares about the graveyard. And this is very apparent in the fact that decks like Affinity and Beyond Wildfires and, the Ardent decks and the Pestilence decks, they typically play somewhere between 2 and 3 copies of mainboard Nihil Spellbomb, along with some number of copies of Resuta Ball in the mainboard. I think it's really important that we as a Tron control deck have the ability to have graveyard hate a reasonable amount of the time. And if we have 3 crop rotation, that means that we can have 3 ways to tune up Resuta Ball at instant speed and exile our opponent's graveyard. So to recap, crop rotation, let's talk about the strengths. Number 1, and in my opinion, the most important one right now, is instant speed graveyard hate. Number 2, it puts the land directly into play, there is no waiting. So what are the weaknesses of this card? Number 1 is that if you have it get countered, it is really, really awkward. So it's weaker to counter spells than map is. That's the big one. Number 2 is that it does require colored mana sources. If you don't have a lot of these, this card is quite weak. Expedition map. When is this card better? Number 1, it is a land drop, right? It can represent a land drop, which is a strength, because you need to hit lands, you can play map, and this card does allow you to maybe play fewer lands than you would otherwise. If you look at my list, I put 20 lands plus 3 hitters. That is more than most other Tron lists, and that is because of the fact that if you're playing crop rotation, this is not a land drop. Where you aren't playing Expedition map, this kind of counts as a land drop, and so you can get away with a lower land count. It's better against counter mana hit, that's number 2. The weaknesses on this are that number 1, it is slow, right? If you don't have it on turn 1 in a fast Tron, and you're not later in the game, it can give you Tron, but it's a whole turn delayed. The other issue with this one is that it requires 3 whole mana and a land drop, so there's a bit of mana investment up front. But I'm saying this because I don't necessarily think that one is better than the other, or vice versa. I think it boils down to what is available at the time, and what is the format at the time. Next, we're going to talk about Ardent Elementalist. So Ardent Elementalist is a 4-mana creature that when it comes into play, you can return an instant or sorcery from your graveyard to your hand. This is not a commonly played card in Flicker Tron. Most people play Mnemonic well. So for 4 to blue, so this is notably 1 more mana, you get a 0-4 defender that does the exact same thing, where when it comes into play, you can return an instant or sorcery from your graveyard to your hand. Why am I not playing this? And instead, why am I playing this? There's 2 main reasons. Number 1, this costs 1 less mana, meaning that you can play it a whole turn ahead of Sandhill. Again, the format is very fast right now. I like being able to play my cards a full turn earlier. The other issue is Pyroblast. This is a card that is very, very common, especially in the burn decks and the faster decks in this format. And if you want to do well against the fast decks, it's really important that your late game, as well as your expensive spells, are not able to get hit by a 1-mana counter spell. And so, by playing Ardent Elementalist, you dodge Red Blast or Pyroblast effects entirely. Now, what are the trade-offs from Ardent Elementalist? Number 1, it has 1 toughness, meaning it dies to things like Lightning Bolt and Lava Dart. What decks play Lightning Bolt and Lava Dart? If you look at the format, is Affinity playing Lightning Bolt? No. Is Solarian Terror decks playing Lightning Bolt? No. Is Beyond Wildfires playing Lightning Bolt? No. Right? Are the Fairies decks playing Lightning Bolt? No. So, what deck is playing it? Burn, right? That's it. It's Burn. That's the only deck right now in the current metagame that is playing Lightning Bolt. So what you're really asking me is, against the really fast mono red decks, are you okay if they point a burn spell at your creature? Yes, I am. And the reason why is because number 1, it's not going to my face, and number 2, this card already got value. If it comes into play and resolves, that means I can get back a Weather the Storm. That means I can get back a Hydroblast, or Pulse of Marasa, or whatever it is that I think is relevant, right? And they cannot stop that. Where with Mnemonic Wall, if they Pyroblast it, that's it. I don't get another card, it's a 1-for-1 exchange, and I'm already behind. What's nice about Elementalist is that even if they point a burn spell at it, it's still a 2-for-1, because Elementalists died for their burn spell, and then on top of that, I still get a hard back. But again, it's all about trade-offs. There might be times where Mnemonic Wall is what you should be playing, and there might be times where Elementalist is what you're playing. Bottom line is you have options and you can make those decisions based on your metagame. But I think Elementalist right now is where it's at. Lastly, we're going to talk about Unfathomable Truths and then Rolling Thunder. So Truths is replacing the card Mulldrifter. So Mulldrifter is a card that is very similar to the Mnemonic Wall in that it has the problem that it is hit by Pyroblast, right? Paying 5 mana to draw 2, or even 3 mana to draw 2, is not particularly good in this current format. This is mainly because every other color can draw more cards or equivalent cards for a cheaper cost. So for example, Fanatical Offering, Reckoner's Bargain, Ren's Resolve, or Reckless Impulse, right? These are all 2 mana spells that draw 2, or sometimes more if combined with like Interwell Screen, for example. And we're here playing Mulldrifter, which can also be Pyroblasted, and we're drawing less cards. So Mulldrifter is kind of embarrassing from that standpoint, right? This is a card that is more mana, is weaker to counterspells like Pyroblast, and it is not drawing more cards for the amount of mana that you're paying for it. This is a card that I think is not good anymore, and it pains me to say that. The other reality is that this card is not very good in terms of gumming up the board, or even his blocking. Sneaky Snapper can attack into it, and then it will come right back. Rightly Chrysalis and Stonewall this card, and make it irrelevant. It doesn't do anything against Solarian Terror. Refurbished Familiar has no problem trading with this, as they can get it back with Blood Fountain, and then make me discard another card. I don't know what this card is good for. I'm aware that you can cast Earthly Flicker or Ephemerate on it to draw more cards, but again, if you can do that, you are probably doing all right. So I don't think this card is particularly good, and I'm not a huge fan of Mulldrifter in the current format. So then, why am I playing Unfathomable Truths? This is a 5-drop. What's my justification? The main one is this. It cannot get Pyroblasted. If I am putting 5 mana into a spell, I really do not want it to get Pyroblasted. This card cannot, because it has Devoid. It does not have a color, meaning it is not blue. The other part I like about this is that it's instant speed, meaning that it's not a sorcery. You can do it on your opponent's end step. And during the turn, you can hold up mana, you can, if you might think you need a moment's peace, you can do that, it's great. The downside with Mulldrifter is that if it's your main phase and you tap out for it, and then your opponent Pyroblasts you, so now they have a full window to do whatever the heck they want to do. Where with Unfathomable Truths, you usually have to hold up your mana on their turn, and they have to like wonder what you might do. And if they don't do anything, or they don't do anything that you care about, you can just say, okay, I'm going to draw 3, and I get to make a spawn. And that spawn is basically a chump blocker, which at this point, let's be honest, Mulldrifter, it's a chump blocker. It is not a legitimate win condition in this format. I wish it was. There was a time where it used to be. It is not a win condition. It is just a medium hard draw spell that used to be good, that's not very good anymore. Unfathomable Truths, it knows what it's about. I am drawing cards, I know that's what I'm doing, and I draw 1 more card than Mulldrifter, I cannot be Pyroblasted, and I make a chump blocker that can also ramp you. One of my favorite things to do with this card is when my opponent attacks, I cast it, draw 3, put a chump blocker into play, and then I can block one of their creatures, and then before damage, I can sap the token to then draw a card with Bonders Ornament. So I really like this card. I'm aware that you cannot evoke it like Mulldrifter, but honestly, the fact that it draws 1 more card, the fact that it's instant speed, it cannot get Pyroblasted, those are really important right now, so I'm playing this card in the current format. Lastly, why am I playing Rolling Thunder as my win condition? The main reason is that right now, Pauper is a very graveyard-centric format. There is a lot of graveyard hate. Nihil Spellbob, Relic of Progenitus, Majutama, Therian Mahab, you name it, people are playing graveyard hate. And if you have a win condition that relies on Earthly Flicker or Ephemerate, that can be really difficult to pull off, especially in decks that not only have lots of graveyard hate, but have lots of removal and things like Therian Mahab. It is a great way to lose your endgame, and then you just can't win anymore. What I like about Rolling Thunder is that it literally just says, you're dead. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. There's no worrying about the graveyard, or fighting through fairy mobs, or whatever. No, you're just dead. It's very clean, it's fast, and it does what it has to do. That's my list. I've talked about every card in detail. Again, You can make your own decisions in terms of what you think is good or bad. It really boils down to what the metagame is and how to build your list for that metagame. Next, we're going to briefly talk about the sideboard. I will say the sideboard, I don't care too much about because this is something that changes all the time. My 2 cents is build your sideboard for the metagame you're expecting. I'll do a quick rundown. This is for burn or for problematic red cards like Makeshift Munitions, Heartland Shaman, whatever. It can be a nice one-of to have in those matchups, but it's primarily for burn. One of the Storm is for burn. Breath Weapon is for burn, specifically Rally Burn. It's also useful against fairies, and it's okay against elves, but it's not great against elves. Pirate Blast is for the blue nets like fairies, the Solarian Terror nets, the Mirror, familiars, things like that. Prohibit, this comes in against matchups where you might want another counterspell that is not Hydroblast or Pyroblast. So for example, against nets that might have problematic permanents that you need to counter that are not blue or red, this can be helpful. So it can be helpful against like spy combo encountering their spies. It can be relevant against sometimes like the pestilence nets where they're playing black and green spells, so like you might want to have this to counter duress or more graveyard hate, right? It can be useful like that, but it's just a nice one-of to have that gives you more counters against the non-blue, non-red decks. Circle is mainly for things like Affinity, Solarian Terror, and sometimes for against Wildfires. This is for any problematic artifacts like Relic of Progenitus, Nihil Spellbomb, and also, Golem Foundry or Ashnod's Altar, or really any artifact combo piece. You can also just bring it in against Affinity, or Mirror Enforcers, you name it. Anytime there's an artifact that you don't like, this is what it's for. And that's the list. Again, you can adjust the sideboard for your metagame, for whatever your personal preferences are. Alright, so with that being said, we talked about the deck, we covered every angle, let's go to some gameplay. Alright, so we're back for some of the games now, and this is the opening hand that I have. So in this matchup, we're up against mono black Gardens with like Pestilence and things like that. And so I had no idea that that was what I was up against, but this hand is pretty good. We have Power Plant, Mine, and Crop for Fast Tron, and we have Generous Sense to Tutor the Forest to make us grab a tower. So this hand is pretty good. It has a lot of potential, and yeah, I'm going to keep it. And here we can see, again, main board graveyard hate. This is everywhere. It's very common, so again, I like to try to have win cons that don't care about the graveyard. Here I just draw up Monder's Ornament, which is great. And the other thing here is the reason why I did not cycle Generosent early on was because this is a legitimate win condition against these styles of decks. And so it's really important, I think, to not cycle it if you don't have to. And so because of that, I decided to hold it, and I would only cycle it if needed. But also because it's a slower matchup, I can kind of afford to do nothing early on, because they're not going to kill me super quickly. In this case, though, I do a Bonder, which is fantastic. Again, because we have a critical density in this type of effect, it's like we can kind of anticipate that we'll draw one at some point. Whereas when we only had 4, it was not really a guarantee. But having 9 of them makes it a lot more comfortable. So now what's great is I essentially have turn 3 drawn. They're not going to know that. When I let them out crop rotation, is that it's kind of a surprise. You can kind of make your opponent wonder if you have it or not, but yeah, we do now. And yeah, we draw Generous Scent. And here I decided to play Unfathomable Truth because I just want to draw more cards. And I want to try to get more mana in play. So here I draw Prism, which is great. I can play that, and then I draw Refractor, and I play that, and then I have Maw, and I just play it now to hit my land drop. My turn 4, I have gotten 3 artifacts in play. I have Tron, and I have Unfathomable Truth. To me, that's pretty good, right? I also have the capability of casting Generous on turn 4, and gaining 3 life off of it. This is why I kind of like this build, is that we had a lot of options. This card also is the fact that it made a mana meant that we were able to kind of do everything that we just did. Also, this was a Mulldrifter. We would have seen 1 less card. We would have been down 1 less mana. Like, yeah, it's just a night and day difference in my opinion. Like, we've seen more cards because of that, and quite a bit as well. Like, we've seen 2 more cards because we saw the 1 additional card of the Truth and the 1 additional card of the Refractor. So we're 2 cards deeper. So little things like that matter. Here I decided to play Elementalist and just pick it up. And that's another reason why I like this card, is it makes your Mnemonic wall effects a lot better. Previously, your Mnemonic wall effects were kind of mediocre because you didn't have a critical amount of card draw that they can target. And so they kind of just sat in your hand not doing a lot. But now they can actually get this mat and just be more card draw, and it's just awesome. And so So here I think I cast it again, and I'm okay with if I have to discard, because really I'm just trying to hit land drop. So here I hit a land drop, and then I just decide to crop rotation for another tower, because I have Refractor in play. So I don't really care about colors with that card. I mean, right now, I mean, we've seen roughly a third of our deck on turn 5, which is pretty good for a deck like this. And, you know, I'm feeling fairly good. So here we did see the weakness, right? They had a board wipe and they were able to exile their Elementalists, right? That is a downside. Mnemonic Wall would not have that problem. Again, though, they could have killed it and still bought it. It's not like, you know, Mnemonic Wall is 100% immune, but we do have to be aware of the fact that this card does have some downsides. But I would argue that based off how we're building our list, they're not that bad. And now we get to see the real power of Genericent. The other thing I liked about this, by the way, is that even though they killed it, it got us 3 additional cards and the spawn. It wasn't even that bad. So here what I'm doing is I'm going to cast Genericent, and then I'm going to cast another Genericent. Also, I believe, if memory serves, I have not drawn a card up on this tournament this entire game, right? And this is why this card is not a forum for me, because you don't really necessarily have the time to pay for it to draw one, or in many cases, you have better things to do with your mana, so you don't even need it. This is arguably a card that used to be really relevant to a card that is now more like a background card, where pay for it to draw one is relevant, but it's not as critical as it used to be. And so here what I like about Genericent is now my opponent, they might not have a ton of removal. Now they could, they can just like cast it down, spellbomb me, and yeah, that sucks. But the spellbomb's on at least, and then I can like play Elementalist and start doing stuff with this. Like, it's not the end of the world. But they don't have removal for it. Now they're under a lot of pressure. I have 10 power in play. So here they're playing Lemboss, and lo and behold, they don't have removal. Or if they do have removal, it might not be enough to heal my Genericent. And so now this is where a card like Modern Tournament shines, right? We have power in play, we're healing our opponent, we're just going to start beating down with Genericent. What I really like about this card in this particular game is the fact that they're gaining a ton of life with Lemboss, which can make Fireball kind of hard to use, especially against a deck with a lot of graveyard hate. But because we have Genericent now, it doesn't matter. We can just start attacking and try to kill them. So that's why I really like Genericent. It's that it is a multifaceted card. It is a land drop, it is a way to stabilize and support, it can gain life, and it's a win condition. Here my opponent plays Pestilence, and I decide to draw a card just to see, and I don't draw a counter spell, so this resolves. But what's really interesting is they are nowhere near close, near 7 mana. Yeah, this card is just gonna not do anything, so I'm just like, yeah, you got it. And here I decide to scrap my clues, might as well try to be a little mana efficient. Yeah, I'm going to just play Prism, draw more cards, and lo and behold, I draw another Genericent. Now, I only play 3 in my list, but I've also been playing 4 in other lists that I find mode, and this is the type of game where if I had 4, I'd be really glad I had 4, because I have a higher likelihood of drawing it, and in games like this, Genericent is just fantastic, because I don't have to, like, worry about my opponent assembling all these hate cards that I have to, like, fight through at some point when I'm trying to win. Don't have to worry about that. I'm going to play my 5/7s, and I'm going to attack them, and get their life total really low, and I just don't have to worry about anything. And it's great. And also what's nice is I'm working through all their, like, their food, and so they're gonna run out of that at some point. Like, there's just a lot of nice things. The other part is they're not able to attack with Cauldron Familiar. Whereas if I didn't have the Genericent, right, they're gonna start hit-shotting me with Cauldrons, getting my life total really low, and then putting me under pressure with Pestilence, and then also their Graveyard Hate, right? So keep in mind, they also have the Shoot About floating around too. So, like, my Graveyard is very much not safe, and this is game 1, right? So, like, this is kind of the state of the format, right? It's like, there's a lot of Graveyard Hate. Having this ability to just, like, not care about Graveyard Hate, I think is really, really critical in this current format. And I think the Flicker strategies are not powerful enough to fight through Graveyard Hate, let alone ignore it, right? You just don't have the critical density and stuff like this, right? So here we get to attack for 15. Now, if I did have a Breath Weapon, I could wipe their board, but then they would still in that cap. But, like, you know, that's something to keep in mind. Although, to be fair, they have more black mana. Breath Weapon would then let them kill Genericent. So, you know, you kind of have to make trades there. But, yeah, right now, again, I don't have to do anything. Here, they're trying to heal my Genericent with Tragic Slip. I decided to just ephemerate it. I'm aware of the fact that this does put ephemerate in the yard, so it will get eaten by a Spellbomb. But at this point, my Flicker endgame is really not what this game is about. I'm just trying to keep my pressure alive and trying to kill them with Genericent. The Cauldron Familiar comes back, they cannot attack, and here I just get to draw a card again. And I believe here I don't even get back the Ephemerate. Again, this card, I have noticed it's not nearly as good as it used to be. It is a necessary evil, because there are certain matchups where Ephemerate, Elementalist, and Moment Piece is enough to win the game. But yeah, it's not what it used to be, and if I could play something else, I would. So here they decided to cast it down, and I'm just like, nope, I'm going to prohibit, because I also want to attack. And then they have another cast it down, and so at this point, I'm like, nope, I'm going to Flicker, right? And so they're trying to heal that when I said no. They're trying to heal that when I said no. And then they trying to heal the same one. And I also just say no to that as well. What they should have done here, I think, is pass it down this one, but it's fine. It's also something where there's a lot of stuff on the set, so it might be hard for them to remember. So yeah, Mono doesn't have the nicest interface in that regard, but we're going to hit them for 10 here. At this point, like, I'm feeling really good, because they can't get their hat back, and even if I only attacked with one, it wouldn't block anyways, and they would have been in the same spot, so it didn't really matter. Like, they're dead on board either way. Here I play a Refractor. Now my opponent, they have to set the spell bomb because they're trying to hit their land. The problem is their life total is so low, they don't have it and they die. And what's crazy is they exiled all my Flicker effects, and it didn't matter. Like, this got it done. I think this really does show that Henderson is really good, where something like Lorien Revealed, yeah, I would have drawn a lot of cards, but like, how am I winning exactly? How am I fighting through all of this? I don't know. Alright, so this is the first board game. I boarded out all the Hoppies Moments Piece, because this card is not very good in the matchup, and I brought in one Hoppy of Ancient Grudge, one Hoppy of Risk Circle, and one Hoppy of Prohibit. I brought in the Prohibit because they are a deck where they have cards I want to counter, like their Spellbomb effects, as well as Pestilence. I brought in Ancient Grudge to blow up their Graveyard Hate. I also brought in Risk Circle as like a fog that doesn't care about their graveyard, so I can just sit and play and maybe make their win conditions not effective. Again, it's not super critical. You can maybe board in Weather the Storm and use that, but I just decided Risk It would be kind of fun, so here we have a mine. My hand is okay. Like, I have 2 lands, a bunch of artifacts, and a crop. So the second I hit my second Tron land, I'm just going to have Tron. And here I make the decision to just cycle the end in Inner Forest. I'm aware that now this is exposed to Graveyard Hate, and I basically have to treat it as if it is gone. But the reality is I need to hit my second land drop, and if I don't, like, herm out appropriately, I'm going to be super slow, and I don't want to stumble. I'm just kind of accepting the fact that that might happen. And here I'm going to Impulse, and I find a tower. And so now, on turn 4, I'm going to have Tron. We're going to be in great shape, right? So we'll see what happens momentarily, but they're going to hit me here. And yeah, I'm going to hit some crop rotation for the other Tron land. So it's turn 4, yeah, Tron, no big deal. Play a Prism, draw hard, and then I'm just going to main phase, Truce. I'm aware of the fact that I'm going to likely have to discard, but I just want to be able to hit my land drops. Here, I think I just Impulse, and I look in the top 4. They're all pretty mediocre, so I think I just take a card I don't care about, like Crop Rotation, just so I can discard it. So, like, I don't care if that card is gone forever. I have other copies of it anyways, like, I still have one left in the deck if I need it, and yeah, it's just not a card that is super critical. So here, I pass. I don't really feel the need to do anything. I could hard cast Henderson, but I don't feel like I can fully protect it yet, so I'm not going to do that. And yeah, sure enough, they have it bought, so yeah, I don't mind just waiting here. And you can see here, right, they're going to get a ton of light, they're going to have Campfire to loop their deck, and they have Graveyard Hate, like, you know, this is a lot to take in. Also, because I do rotations here, I can just use my mana on Mystical, and I'll be fine. So here, I just cast Mystical, grab an Ancient Run, and then I immediately flash it back, grab another Mystical Stations. Here, what I do is I just Ancient Run, here's Spellbomb, and then I believe I hard cast a Henderson. The idea being that even if they heal it, I can pulse it back. And then yeah, here they're drawing a bunch of cards, they're gonna try to heal my, yeah, I decided I'm gonna Flicker because why not? They only have 1 mana up, they need like a Snuff Out or something, and so, again, I don't mind losing a Flicker. Henderson is a lot more viable in terms of it being a win condition. So yeah, here I attack, they have to block, I play another Henderson, they hit their hat back, and I just do my thing. And they're gonna mob me again, I'm gonna just run their Campfire, and then here they pass it down in response, starting my Henderson. This is tricky because they have a bot on the stat. And I didn't really have a good opportunity in the sense of, like, I couldn't just let it resolve. and then my graveyard's on. But if I respond, then what they can do is start trying to kill my things. And if they do go to the yard, they will get exiled via the so it's a little tricky. I decided to counter that, pass it down, because I think it's necessary, and they haven't tried to hit lesson. So here I'm kind of like, I hope they don't have another removal spell. They did not. Now, I did make, I think, a mistake, which is like probably should have Propagation for a Mnemonic to get rid of all the cards that were in their yard, so I don't want to face them again. Like, they just shuffled in a spell bomb. I don't want to deal with that, especially now that I'm losing my grunt. So I probably should have Propagation, but I did not do that, and that was a mistake on my part. They're tapped out, and here I just decide in 3, and I'm going to just go back to, you know, beating down with Henderson. And so here in the top 4, Elementalist and really only get that Impulse, which is whatever. I decided to just get Prohibit so I can protect my Elementalist, so then I just gain a little bit of life. There's no reason to main phase that. That was poor play on my part, but I don't know, I just didn't really care. And here you can see they're gaining a ton of life. Yeah, here I just counter that. And then they have another one. So again, everyone has Graveyard Hate in this format. Not to mention they probably have Fairy Mobs too. Like, it's really, really hard to be a Flicker deck when there's this amount of hate. Like, historically, this would be a good matchup, but even how their deck is favored, I wouldn't go so far as to say it's not as good as it used to be. Like, it's pretty close. I still think we're favored by, you know, again, Henderson is doing a lot of heavy lifting here. And here again, I just Flicker to save my Henderson. Lo and behold, I'm losing both my Flickers. I'm losing Prohibit, 2 Prohibits really. Well, here I just hit for Truth. So that's another really nice thing. Then I can flash back for Prohibit, and then I think I just untap and play Moderners. So then I main phase the Truth. I play a tower, and I just smack them. And here they are not doing much, but yeah, I'm just gonna kind of draw my cards and, you know, gain some life and just keep doing what I gotta do. I hit the Rolling Thunder, and again, this is great. It doesn't care about the graveyard. It's just going to do its thing and just earn a land. And I could have fireballed them there, but I was afraid of them gaining life. So I wanted to just try to make it so that even if I did gain life, it might not be enough. And so now I decide I'm going to fireball them. And the reason why is because they might have duress, and they exile they put my fireball in the graveyard with duress, and then they exile it. I just might not be able to win anymore. So I'm just like, I'm gonna just take the opportunity to make them have it. So I'm just like, you're at 14, this is 24. Maybe you have weather. It's unlikely, given how last game went. I'm just going to fireball you. And yeah, they're drawing a bunch of cards here, like a lot of cards, and they die. And what's nice about this is my opponent had a lot of graveyard hate, right? They had 3 spell bombs, 3 Mnemonics, a lot of removal, 100% plus fireball was still good enough. They actually kill people on a fast time scale, and on top of that, they don't care about the graveyard. I really do like these cards. I know they're a little simple, but sometimes simple is all you need. Alright, so we are up against Affinity, and this is my opening hand. I think this is a pretty weak hand. You could justify it, given the fact that it has a Tron land, an Island, Impulse, and a Prism. Like, those 4 cards, I think, make this justifiable. However, the other 3 cards are really bad. Mainly Flicker. Like, Flicker is really bad in the early game, and it's the type of card that I would argue is necessary for your late game, but it is also pretty horrendous in the early game, right? And that's the trade-off with this type of effect. Additionally, Bot is a very polarizing card. Part of the reason why I kept this hand was because if I am against Terror, Bot is going to do a lot of heavy lifting and possibly buying me a lot of time. I decided to take the risk. Now, this hand can lose in a lot of matchups, absolutely, but this helps against a lot of the graveyard decks, combined with double flicker. It's a little sketchy for sure, but you can maybe argue yourself into it, even though it's a little rough. I draw Weather and I just play Power Plant, so Weather was a pretty bad draw. Granted, if we were up against Burn, it would be pretty cool, but yeah, not the case. Here, I decided to not play Prism and instead play Impulse, because I do want to hit Tron lands if possible, so yeah. Technically, my opponent is on Affinity, and they do not have a fast Refurbished Familiar, so that's really, really helpful. Here, I Impulse, and I was afraid of, like, a Metallic Rebuke. I'm like, ah, man, really? But no, they're just drawing 2, it's just fine. So here I see a tower, and yeah, I think I'm going to just take the tower here. I do like all of these other cards in the matchup. Like, I would love to just take 3 cards from my hand and throw them into my deck and take these 3. Like, I used to like Brainstorm and Flicker Tron, and this definitely makes me feel like, you know, man, I wish I could do that. right now, unfortunately, that's not an option. So here I just play my Prism before my land drop, and the reason why is because if I draw like a tap land, I might be incentivized to play the tap land. Here though, I just draw another tower, so I just play that and pass. My opponent plays a familiar, and I decided to discard the redundant tower. My rationale is that Mahima is kind of relevant against their Blood Fountain, so I don't want to lose that angle of attack, and I don't want to discard anything else in my hand, so I'm not going to. They thought yes, and that's it. So here I bought them, and then I think I get rid of my bond. I don't want to get rid of the island because I am limited on colors right now, and so it's tricky because mod can be nice if they start getting things back with Blood Fountain, but at the same time, like, I need to start developing. It's turn 4, I need to, like, turn the corner, and so I decided I'm just gonna keep the blue source, so that way if I don't draw an artifact, I can at least double spell next turn. And then yeah, I play Unfathomable Truths. So here they attack me, they play Makeshift Munitions, they play Mere Enforcer, and once again, this card makes this pretty tricky. There's no denying that. However, the reality is, I don't actually care if they kill it, because it got the value that I needed from it. They can throw an artifact at this, it's not going in my face, fine. And also it can be a count blocker, which is nice too. But the bottom line is I don't really care if they heal my guy. And so here I'm just like, I don't need to block just yet. I might need to block next turn, but I'm kind of okay if they want to start machine gunning my board. It's that means they have less artifacts in play, and it's never a bad thing. So here they have heart, whatever, it's fine. Here I decide I'm gonna weather, and the reason why I do this is even though it's only for 3 with the storm count, I am at 12, and it is possible for them to go like Outlast, and then heal me with the rest of their land. So I have enough right now that I can turn the corner and do all right. So here I just draw with the Truths, and then I play another Prism, and then I grab Rotation for a Tower, and I pass the turn. And the reason why I did all this, and this is also why I like this card, because it can kind of be a Dart Ritual, like this is definitely an example of this being mana ramp. It's nice because they like try to kill this or whatever. I can just sack it and play another Unfathomable Truth, which is great. But on top of that, if they're not going to kill it, and they're like, I'll just let them jump block with it, I can then just play another one when I sack this. So it's like, I kind of get another truth off of the first one. Like, they're really good at chaining into each other. It's really, really cool. The other thing that I like about it is no one wants to waste removal on an Eldrazi spawn. Like, it just never feels worth it, because very often it's not. And that's great for us, because it means we get to have free jump blocks that no one's going to kill. And then I can just use that mana to play another one, and it's awesome. So here, this is another reason why I love Generousent over Lorien. This is a monster in this matchup, because they cannot kill this card very easily. Like, now the board is super duper stable. I have 3 life in play, and they don't have very good attacks. So here my opponent attacks, and I block, and they decide to toss an analysis. I thought about counterspelling, but I decided not to. I decided to just gain my 3 life. And the reason why I'm gaining the 3 is if I don't, I'm at 9. I might be in range of like Outlast, throw a thing at you, and then you die. So I want to make sure I'm out of range. Also, I'm not countering, because if they have like a Nihil spell bomb, I want to counter that. Because if they don't have a spell bomb, I can then teams for Pulsa Marasa, and then they're back to square one. Where it's like, okay, I'm going to pulse map my Elementalist, and I'm going to play my Elementalist, and I'm going to pulse map Pulse Marasa. Now, I can get that Generousent if I want to, but what I like about this loop right now is every turn now, I just get a free block, and every time they heal it, I get to gain 6. I just had like this infinite loop of just gain 6, and there's not a lot they can do about it. And so I like that. Obviously, they have Graveyard Hate, that sucks, but again, what I would like to do is if they did have Graveyard Hate, I would just prohibit it. And then if they had another spell bomb, like, just pulse back your Henderson and take the L, like, yes. Or better yet, I think we have the mana to flicker 2 Cronlands, and then I think Teachings, I think? I have to double check, but we might be able to still deal with 2 of them. So, they're eating about cards here, they're drawing, they're gaining life, and they're drawing, playing a Familiar, just getting rid of land, playing a Monitor, and here I just pulse back my Elementalist, and then I flash back Teachings, or Teachings, and then I play Elementalist, get back the Pulse, play Pulse on the Ents, play the Ents, and then, yeah, I mean, at this point, I'm at 28 life, off of 3 pulses, I now have a 5-6 or 5-7 in play. That's really hard for my opponent. So here I'm just like, I'm gonna just trade with the bait street here and try to protect my life total. They have heart. I could counter the heart, but again, I don't care. They don't have graveyard hate. That's really all that matters here. I'm fine that they want to sat their entire board to get rid of my 100%. And so yeah, here, the other thing I can do that's also relevant, because they have heart, I can, with the triggers on the stat, I can just 100%, or flip my end, and then it resets the damage. Like, that's another thing I can do too. Right, so now they're forced to outblast it, which is great. It's not onto my face, and it's not. So yeah, so here's the graveyard hate. I was worried about it. I did open myself up to it. So like, this is not great, I'll admit, but I still feel like I'm in pretty good shape because I don't have a lot going on. I have Prohibit for their next spell bomb. I have Impulse to find Henderson. I have 3 life on the table, and I have a bunch of falls with a Bonder tournament going. Like, yeah, it's not great, but I actually still feel like I'm in great shape. Like, I don't feel like it's that bad. I'm like, that kind of sucks, but whatever. So here I impulse looking for anything. I find Elementalist and Truce. I think I take Truce if memory serves, as Elementalist is not doing much on this board. I decide to just play another Bonders, play a Truce, draw 3, play a Prism, play a land, and I mean, I'm gonna Fireball them, you know, and again, this is why I love Fireball. It's just so easy. And then I can fault them and be like, whatever, don't care, don't need to worry about damage, I'm gonna just draw it hard, just earn a team, slam it hard, who cares? Like, your board doesn't matter. I'm gonna find my fireball, I'm gonna draw more cards, I'm gonna play more cards, and at this point, nothing they're doing matters. I can just draw a bunch of cards, gain a bunch of life, and then, yeah, I'm gonna play a land, and I think I just fireball them, and then I play Elementalist, get that fireball, and there's nothing they can do. Like, they can heal my Elementalist, it doesn't matter. Here I just like, you're not drawing cards, absolutely not. You have 1 draw, I will likely have a counterspell, you're gonna be dead. And here I'm just like, I am a frog, so they can't burn me out, like, what you're he. Yep, that's that, and then I just fireball them, game over. Alright, so game 2, this is my opening hand. In terms of how I boarded, I played 1 expedition map because I felt like I needed to change something. I believe when I boarded in 1 Mystic Circle, 1 Ancient Run, and wow, we drew Tron, what you do. So now this replication looks pretty bad, but whatever. Again, what's kind of funny here is, so I heard it props there, but I don't want to, because they have a way to blow up my Refractor. I don't want to lose my colored mana, and just be kind of vulnerable to that, so I'm just gonna wait. There's no reason to, I'm not under any pressure. Yeah, they're gonna develop their board here, and I just gonna do the right thing, grab a run, and what's great is I don't even care if I lose my teams. I have Truce and Elementalist. Like, this combo is just so lethal at the time, that like, you're gonna have so many cards, it doesn't matter. And what's right here is I can just play Elementalist, grab the run, and then I'm just gonna kill their Enforcer, and I just don't care. They're gonna play that guy, and what's really funny here is, if my opponent has a Pyroblast, it cannot stop my loop here. Right? This is not a blue spell. This is not a blue spell. This is not a blue spell. If I feel like it, I can just be like Ephemerate. And the crazy thing is, they have to bring a Blue Blast, which is really bad against me. Like, that card hits, like, basically nothing. And yeah, now this works, like, blow up their other Mirror Enforcer. And yeah, we just have this loop going. And like, yeah, I'm taking 3, but who cares? Right? Same thing, I'm gonna do this all over again. I'm gonna flicker, I'm gonna get this mat, I'm gonna blow up. I'm gonna play this. So I want to like hit land drops and draw cards, and then I just play a land, right? Hit they bargain. Yeah, that sucks. Whatever. And yeah, we're just gonna kill and we're gonna play a blood fountain. That means that you'll get back both of their guys. But nope, nope, nope. I have conversation again. Very relevant. Instant Speed Graveyard Hate. Right? This card looked bad when we had Tron because we're like, oh, it doesn't do anything. But wow, my opponent's a Graveyard Net. Every net is a Graveyard Net nowadays. It feels like. And yeah, now this card has relevant text. And yeah, no Mirror Enforcers for you. So yeah, I'm gonna get that mat. I'm going to do this, get mat run, blow up the last guy, draw a bunch of cards, and at this point the game is over. I've drawn so many cards. I have this powerful loop going, and what's even funnier is, even if they kill this, like with a, Round Blast, my Ephemerate is still not gone, because I can just start in a spawn. That's the other thing that's really nice about this card, is you have no creature play with Ephemerate, you can just put an instant like, in response to the rebound, you can cast Truce, and then you have a thing to target, so your Ephemerate is not gone forever. So that's actually quite relevant. So yeah, I'm gonna do this again, I'm gonna play Prism, we're going to, play Circle, and at this point, I don't have to do anything. I'm just gonna play another one, grab a counter spell, and we're done. I maybe should have counted that. I didn't, so I'm just like, I don't know if I care. That's all I really care about is graveyard hand at this point. And then, yeah, I just play a Prism, play a land, pass, and then, yeah, my opponent is going to attack. I'm just going to circle them a bunch, and we're just playing the circle game. So you can see here, my opponent is paying to counter my circle, but I have so much more mana than them that I'm basically just kind of taxing all their mana. And eventually they're like, oh, this is really bad for me, so I'm not going to be able to do anything. And then, yeah, now they're tapped really low on mana. I don't have to, like, worry about anything. I start picking up my right here, so I'm gonna right here Enforcer. I'm gonna play a tower. I'm gonna do this again. It map my right here guy. And then I'm just gonna weather. I'm gonna counter their hard draw at this point. It map my counter spell. Let my things go. And I mean, they're gonna, you know, hit me with this, which is like, this is like the one edict effect that mons don't save me against, which is really funny. But, yeah, it's no big deal. Just impulse, I find a few teams, which is great. Rebound happens, let it go. Play a land, and yeah, then I'm gonna teach him for pulse map my guy, play my guy, in map pulse. And at this point, it's like, you know, I'm gonna counter that, they're gonna hit me. They're going to, you know, attack. I'm gonna, you know, flicker, get map my counters. I'm going to ephemerate, get map more stuff. Like, I'm playing very cautiously. It's not very, very good. Like, this card was great, but also, like, Tutors was just the MVP. This card was so good. It drew so many cards, made so many spawns. Propagation also saved my butt. Right was really good. Like, yeah, we just got to play the 1-for-1 removal, and then we got the Ephemerate Elementalist loop. Like, yeah. Our opponent's draw were not the best, we're being honest. Like, I think our draw were better than theirs, but, like, yeah, it's always feels really good when you're able to, like, win a game like that. Alright, so we are back for the third and final match that we're going to talk about in this video. This is my opener. It's really bad, and it is not a heap. We're going to mull it in. And then this is our next hand. Sorry, that one might really quick, but once we mull it in, our hand had no lands. Instant mull it in. This is our mull to 5. This hand is also not heapable, so we're going to mull it in. And then we mull to 4, and this is the best hand so far. So I believe I heap Tower, Mine, Prism, Refractor, something like that. We'll see. I might heap Impulse. No, I don't. Okay. So the reason why I do this instead of double Prism is that if my Prism gets countered, or if I need to start doing multiple things, having some diversity is nice. I tend to be of the opinion that I want to have diversity in my hands instead of having the same type of card. Unless that card is, like, busted, but I don't know, having a nice mix of things tends to feel better for me for some reason, so that's why I did that. So yeah, what means Rally Burn, we know another Prism. I mean, at this point, we're pretty host. Maybe I shouldn't have the Impulse. At this point, I don't even know if Impulse would have saved me, if I'm being honest, and yeah, we're just dead on turn 4. Alright, so this is game 2. We boarded out 2 Prohibits, a Flicker, an Ephemerate, an Elementalist, a Rolling Thunder, and a Behemot for 2 Breath Weapon, 4 Hydroblast, 2 Weather the Storm. Like, took out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 for 8 cards. I should have cut one more card. I sometimes play very loosey-goosey and go to 61. But yeah, I should definitely have a better mapping. Again, I'm pretty loosey-goosey on sideboarding, but that's something I could probably be better at. And this is our opener. This hand, if this was like a mine, you might be able to convince me, but this is not Tron, and it's 6 lands, not heapable. This hand is better, so I decided to heap it. And I believe my bottom here is Pulse. And the reason why is that there's nothing here that can go into the graveyard, so that card is not live. I would much rather have land drops and some really good early plays, along with possible payoff, rather than Pulse, which, you know, can gain life, but it's not gaining life right now. So here I make the play Prism, and the reason why is that if I draw a Breath Weapon, I'm going to want to have the mana in play to cast it right away, whereas if I Impulse and I find Breath Weapon, I might not get it. So that's kind of the call I'm making here. So I draw Crop, which is fantastic. They have, again, more creatures, we're under some pressure. Here I Impulse and I find the 3rd Tron land, and because we have Crop rotation and not map, bada bing, bada boom, we have Tron. And then I can play it Prism, and we're doing okay, right? We have turn 3 Tron, double Prism, we have Truth to give us some blockers, like, we're gonna draw a lot of cards, and again, they're a Pyroblast net, they had Pyroblast this, like, I'm feeling okay. Granted, we're taking a lot of damage here, so this is pretty spooky. I'm gonna get rid of this now. But, yeah, this is pretty spooky. I draw a Hydro Blast, which is pretty good, but at this point, I kind of need a Breath Weapon or I'm going to die. And so I draw, and I get very, very lucky, and I hit Breath Weapon, and I have Hydro Blast to counter a Burn spell. So we're not out of the woods yet, but we're doing okay. And also, the fact that this drew 3 cards and made a spawn means that we can hold both these up. If this was a Mulldrifter, I would have had to like evoke it, and if this was the 3rd card down, I die. So again, things like that are pretty relevant, and that's why I think this card is better than Mulldrifter. Also, it was not Pyroblastable. So there's that. I wipe the board, I'm gonna draw it hard. It's a synth, I'm like relieved, it's not a bolt. And they play a synth, they hit rally, and I'm just gonna have to let them rally here. And yeah, I'm holding up Pyroblast for dear life. And then yeah, here I'm just gonna play Truth right now. I draw a Weather and I play it. I think I've kept my mana kind of outward here. I should have done it differently. Just now I don't have double Hydra up, but I'm at least gaining life with weather, so that's not horrible. The reason why I'm weathering here for only 2 is because I didn't want to run into a spot where they didn't have multiple bolts. So, you know, I was just trying to gain the life to, you know, give myself a little breathing room, but there is an argument to be made that if I had been more patient on that, I could have gained more life. So, there's something to keep in mind. I might not have played that particularly well. He's gonna smash, but that sucks, whatever. I know Breath Weapon is great. I can wipe the board and try to stay alive. They're gonna make a guy, they in a mountain, and they're gonna make clockwork. And again, we just gotta wipe the board, do what you gotta do. And yeah, I'm gonna flicker to draw it hard because I just need stuff. And we are flooding, but the Hydro Blast is what's keeping us alive here. Here they play Burning Tree, and I'm like, no. I believe in Exile here they had a Bushwhacker, so I didn't want them to like deal a ton of damage. So I'm just like, nope. Again, I draw this card, it's great. I draw Pulse, and I'm like, you know what? I gotta gain more life. I'm gonna Pulse here, and then I'm just going to try to, you know, get more mana, get more Tron, and yeah, they're gonna rally here, hit us for a bunch, and yeah, I'm just going to block, and I'm okay taking 2 here. Elementalist is great. I decided to not get Pulse because I want cards, and life in doesn't matter. So yeah, my hand's not doing anything, and Moment Pieces is helping me not die to the board, so I just need more stuff, and this gets me more stuff. So that's kind of my rationale. And then here I decided to play Tapland because I can play Moment Piece out the spawn and a Forest and we're fine, and then I also still have Impulse up if needed. So here I have Moment Piece. Also, what I could be doing for what it's worth is against Red Nets with Flaring Pain, when you have Moments, you can also block. I don't believe I'm doing that, but in case they have Flaring Pain, yeah. So, this right here, I don't know how long they had it, but they've been holding on to cards for quite a while. It's very possible they had this card for quite some time. And the reality is, if he countered my hard draw at any point, that would have been 3 turns of me doing nothing. I would have likely died. So, the fact that my hard draw, which is critical and helping me turn the corner, is not Pyroblastable, I think is very relevant. They're gonna smash me, I'm gonna take more damage, I'm gonna draw more cards, so yeah, this card is amazing. Then we're going to get some plate Henderson, jump up the board, play this card, Ram Flicker. I think they conceded at this point, if memory serves. Yeah, I think the game's locking up, but once they saw the Flicker with my Graveyard, I think they're like, yeah, the game's over. Alright, so in this game, I slightly modified my boarding. I cut 8 Bonders for another Ardent Elementalist, and the reason being is that they had Smash, so this card is not particularly good against that type of effect, and also I was a little afraid of if they are able to exile all of my Elementalists or whatever, I maybe can't win, I don't know. Yeah, so here we have Map. Again, Map is really good when you have, you know, Map plus Power Plant Tower. Here I was just hoping they didn't have Smash, so that would really punish me here, but yeah, they do not, which is great. So they're going to play another Epic here, and then here I just have turn 3 Tron. I'm going to crack, and here what's actually really fascinating is I could have gotten Tron. I did not, because I don't have colors, and green is really important, so I just want to have moments piece up, so I play that and pass. And what's nice is that they don't have anything that like really frightens me. I can just drop away my tower. So here I'm like, I'm only taking 3. It's a little risky, but they don't have Metal Craft yet for Blast. Feel okay. So yeah, they're gonna play a land, do nothing, and I'm like, they're gonna have a lot of burn here and kill me like Purple Bolt, but I'm not playing around that. I need to like keep moving forward. So I'm just going to try to assemble Tron. So now I have Tron, but it's a little awkward because I don't have mana, right? I don't have colors. So yeah, here I'm forced to Moment Piece. They play Run for Solve, and it's like, man, imagine if I had any type of Prism effect, right? I mean, great shape. Thankfully, they don't have double Yap Blast, but yeah, I need to draw something. They are trying to find it, yeah, they miss, and boom, we hit Refractor. This card is so much better than Prism, and you can see why. Now I can cast multiple blue spells, whereas Prism would only let me cast one. So yeah, here I just play Truth right away. They smash. In response, I'm like, okay, I'm going to Impulse, I'm going to grab Breath Weapon, and then I'm going to Weather, right? I could not have passed Impulse if this wasn't Prism. Notably, I didn't take Breath Weapon, and I don't have red mana, but I was confident enough in Truth that I was willing to take the risk. But maybe I should have not taken this card, but it paid off in the end. But again, it's a risk. But in my head, I'm thinking, I'm seeing enough of my deck, I will probably find one, so I was okay with it. But here, if they had like a Bushwhacker, we might have been dead, but I kind of just had to do what I had to do. Like, this is not a great matchup. I don't think anyone's going to claim it will be, but you kind of just have to like make the plays that will help hit your land long enough. So here I Prism, I Refractor, I pass the turn, and now I have Breath Weapon up. I'm at 11. This game feels pretty over. Like, I've turned the corner, and I'm been able to stay alive long enough that, yeah, like, nothing they really do matters at this point. They're gonna play some more guys. I have to play Unfathomable Truth, draw a bunch of cards, and then, yeah, like, play Moderners, draw more cards, play that, play Impulse, Wrap Henderson, play Weather, and then like the game is over. Alright, so we're back for the wrap up. So overall, I think Flicker Tron is in a pretty okay spot. It's not, you know, tier 1 busted or anything, but it's viable, right? It's like tier 2, you know, you can have fun with it, and honestly, that's pretty cool. This was a deck that I think for a long time was not particularly good, and it wasn't really worth playing, where nowadays, I think you can justify it, and it's not super embarrassing. So yeah, I think that's really cool. Modern Tournament is a nice addition. It's not busted, but it certainly has its moments. And yeah, I think what I will say is this: the big additions to Flittertron right now, in my opinion, is oddly enough not Modern Tournament. I think Unfathomable Truths. Let me pull up the 3D fan here. I think Unfathomable Truths and Henderson have been having a bigger impact than Modern Tournament, which is kind of crazy, because we could have been playing these for quite some time, and we were not. This current list right now has felt very good with both of these cards. I have liked it quite a bit. Again, both of these cards really have shown their power, in my opinion, in that they're hard draw, they not a lot of hate, they come up the board, they can be win conditions, they can buy you time, like, they just do everything that you want in a Flittertron deck. As always, you can build Flittertron however you want to build it. There's not a right or wrong way, it's mostly what is the metagame and how you're building that for that metagame. So, I hope this has been educational, I hope that you all learned something from it, and yeah, thank you for watching.